Boris looked the other way, ignored warning about sudden Omicron surge on Christmas facing horribly consequences. Britons have criticised Boris Johnson for refusing to introduce further COVID restrictions before New Year's Eve. The government has announced that no new measures will be imposed over the coming week, asking only that people are cautious. This comes amid the emergence of the Omicron COVID variant, believed to spread faster but to be less harmful than previous strains. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, said people should take steps themselves to protect others. We won't be taking any further measures. Of course, people should remain cautious as we approach New Year celebrations and take a lateral flow test if that makes sense. Celebrate outdoors if you can, have some ventilation indoors if you can, he said. The call for caution was reiterated by the Prime Minister in a series of tweets on Monday night. We will continue to monitor the data carefully, but there will be no new restrictions introduced in England before the new year, he said. However, I would urge everyone to continue to act cautiously given the rising number of Omicron cases. Most importantly, I urge everyone to get their first, second or booster jab without delay to protect yourselves and your loved ones. England recorded 1,281 people admitted to hospital in England on Christmas Day, the most recent available figure, up from 1,020 the day before. Though it is the highest figure since mid-February, it is well below the highest in the pandemic when admissions reached 4,134 last January. Downing Street has been hopeful that if admissions in London stay below 400 a day, NHS capacity should remain stable. According to the latest data, 364 patients were admitted to hospital with COVID on Christmas Day in London, down slightly from a high of 390 admitted on the 23rd of December. Case rates reached a new high of 113,628 on Christmas Day and fell to 98,515 on Monday, though the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, SAGE, has previously cautioned that data will be unreliable over the festive period as testing and hospital admission patterns change. Johnson's decision to rule out further curbs this year came after a crunch summit he chaired online from his Chequers residence, with England's Chief Medical Officer, Chris Whitty, and the government's Chief Scientific Advisor, Sir Patrick Vallance. A record 113,628 COVID cases were reported in England on Christmas Day. Some have taken to social media to accuse the Prime Minister of acting irresponsibly by not taking Omicron more seriously. Mike P. Williams wrote on Twitter, "The Tories do no give a st about people's well-being. They're leaving us all mingle over Christmas and New Year in fear of losing more votes, and will deal with the inevitable problems in January." A decision not to introduce new restrictions was made earlier today, on Monday, after Mr. Johnson reviewed the latest COVID data with top government advisors. Following this, Health Secretary Sajid Javid said, "We look at the data on a daily basis, that hasn't changed over the Christmas period, but there will be no further measures before the new year. We won't be taking any further measures. Of course, people should remain cautious as we approach New Year celebrations and take a lateral flow test if that makes sense. Celebrate outdoors if you can, have some ventilation indoors if you can. Please remain cautious, and when we get into the new year, of course we will see then if we do need to take any further measures, but nothing more until then, at least." The decision clashes with those made by the UK's other nations. In Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, table service has been introduced in pubs and attendance numbers at both indoor and outdoor events has been limited. Many commenters on social media have drawn attention to recent COVID figures which they suggest increase the need for further restrictions. Mark asked Mr. Javid, "Seriously, what planet are you on?" Others have taken a far more positive view of the decisions. A political editor, Toby Young, "The lockdown skeptics are winning the argument. The longer Mr. Johnson delays making a decision, the harder it will be to recall Parliament before the year ends, and the less likely it is that any additional restrictions will be imposed."